Welcome back to the Family Fund podcast. Alicia and Andre here, your co-hosts, and we have a special guest today, guest number one of like the whole
I'm
since
the
we've
first
started. You're the
guest?
first guest. We've
What?
never had a guest before.
This is
So granted, this is
awesome.
episode seven.
Wow.
I
Well, to
lose
all
count,
the
but
people that are watching this as you've put out probably your 100th, 200th episode that are now backtracking to get caught up, hi, as well as
yeah,
current day listeners. This is awesome. First guest. I'm honored.
yeah, and it's crazy because you're like the highest profile guest that I could ever have hoped for. In that, like, you have a huge following yourself, and you obviously have your own podcast. And I know that you don't like think of yourself that way, but we think of you as famous, and so you're like one of the first famous person I've ever talked to. I think.
I'm
Yeah,
I'm I'm humbled.
genuinely.
Not a word I'll admittedly be comfortable with, but
Well, I know.
humbled.
I just think it's you might have to pretty like your stuff is going, and you're gonna have to get comfortable with it. Not the it helps to stay grounded. And did you grow up in where did you grow up? Is it in Delaware?
Here in Delaware, yeah, I came here
Okay.
as a military brat from Texas right around when I was 7. Yeah, 7.
Okay. Are you like the typical, what do you call it, Delawarean? What do you call you from Delaware?
Well, let me first ask, what is the typical Delawarean
I
thing?
don't know. What was
Let
so
me get
like
your
we're from
definition before
Minnesota.
I admit to it.
No. I just we're from Minnesota, right? And so Midwesterns have a certain level of I don't want to say groundedness to them, I think. And I'm curious what if Delaware has that same culture because you seem like a guy who like the reason that the fame thing is not going to be very attractive to you. And I'm curious if that is why, if it's because you're from Delaware. That's the thing for people from Delaware.
I think it was because I was bullied. I don't know if it has to do with me being from Delaware.
Oh,
Also,
okay.
did you
Okay.
say Midwest? We're like right on
Yeah.
the ocean.
No. Well, it's just like a Midwest culture thing. Not that I would just like I don't
Atlantic.
know what.
You gotta put some
Yeah.
Jersey in with the country, and then you get Delaware.
Okay.
Because you got
Okay.
the eastern shore of Maryland, which is definitely, a little bit of hick town. My boy Scott's out there. He'd admit it. Uh, and then, of course, you got Jersey, Philly, New York right around the corner. No, I don't think I was raised in any kind of culture to stay coy about things, but I genuinely, believe everything I'm doing right now could be gone tomorrow. Like when you say fame, the viewership is pretty much one layer deep. I got a decent following on the podcast, which is really fun to do, and I enjoy that. But I don't want to get too tinfoil hatty, but a similar circle of billionaire elites now own all the media platforms, and if
Yes,
they
they
want me
do.
gone, I can wake up as I'm gone, and that's what I mean by kind of skin level deep. I'm at a point where if I disappeared off the internet, ain't gonna be no riot or people trying to find me on Rumble and scale, right? So it's
They're
it is what it is.
we would know. To be fair, like I would know. I
Hey,
would
listen,
notice.
yeah, come
Like,
check it out and buy eggs from my farm stand to keep me standing.
yeah, so with that, I wanted to get started. And the first question to ask you is like your origin story, right? I'm interested in what your villain origin story is,
Oh,
why you started doing this in the first place. Because I think, well, I know from your background, right? Do you still own the real estate brokerage? You're still running that, and
mhm,
that's a thing still. Okay.
absolutely.
So yeah, could you talk people through your story and like how you got started in this before we actually get to like the topics of the episode? I think it's helpful to understand where you came from, where you're coming from.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, military brat, 3 different locations, Georgia, Texas, and most of my childhood in Delaware. Been here ever since. Met my wife here, had our daughter here, bought our first and second home here, and now I'm here in an undisclosed location in Delaware in a basement, hanging out with you guys. A few other details in the middle. I worked at a correctional facility shortly after exiting the military. I initially joined the military for part-time work and a college degree. I ended up getting 4.5 years of active contracts and a deployment, and I got kicked out of college. So none of it really worked the way I was planning. And after that, Department of Corrections, somebody asked me, "Hey, why aren't you a real estate agent?" I said, "Because that sounds stupid. I want like a
Mhm.
2-week paycheck and insurance. I don't know how to sell anything. Never done it." But person ends up signing me up for it. I attend the very next day because someone had dropped out. I start selling homes, and I got rookie of the year. A couple years by, I'm selling about 60 homes a year on my own. I start a team. Team gets up to close to about 200 homes a year, and now we we had a lot of great agents that worked with us that got to be able to grow their own independent businesses now, and a lot of people that we kind of like pushed out the door because around 2022 to early 2023, we saw the market started shifting. That's the one thing that's still core about what I do now versus what I was doing in the business and still am doing in the business is I'm a data nerd. I follow graphs and numbers. I didn't want to follow anyone's sentiment because honestly, if I were to have followed the sentiment of those around me when I got started in real estate in 2017, I would have been never to be seen on social media. I wouldn't have started on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok in 2019 because that was never the suggestion. I've always just kind of had these questions that I'll ask of why not. And if data points match up to where I'm like, oh, I make a video, 200 people see it versus X and Y, I'm like, okay, I'm going to lock in on this. But comes the time in 2023, market shifts, and all my boys can't buy homes anymore. Like the military vets, the normal everyday people can't buy homes. It's like a flip of a switch. It goes from like, oh my God, this market is white hot. And at the point where we start questioning it, it still is, because the reason I start questioning it is because I see the rates going up, wages staying low, and all of a sudden a freeze starts to hit the market where now we're at a fourth of the velocity of pre-2022.
Yeah.
So, whoa. So we cut the fat a little bit. We had some great ones move on with us. Now we have an awesome team. We'll close about 120 homes between 5 agents. Still absolutely running it, but couldn't be doing it without our absolute cracking squad, from our videographer to the 5 agents that lead the charge with me and, transaction coordinators, lenders. I mean, we got a locked in system, and it allows me the freedom to be able to have these kinds of conversations because it is genuinely what I'm interested in. Is what are the overarching mechanics that are creating what we're living in economically versus just simply staying as a salesman within that system.
That's super cool. And also congrats to you on the growth there, because I know there's a stat floating around somewhere that most real estate agents sell like
70%.
Most of
single
us
home,
yeah.
Most of us are atrocious, right?
Well, and it may be a
I'll
sad
work
thing, but
with them.
also
I get it.
I think there's more agents than houses to sell, right? Obviously, and I think most agents don't sell anything.
The numbers are closing in. The numbers are closing in. But yeah. The side note: the amount of agents I can't believe were representing the largest purchase that family was ever going to be making is astonishing. There's way too many realtors. I hope half of them get frozen out by this market, so we can actually get back to a point where real estate agents are doing the job at an exceptional level, are respected for the work they are doing, because there's so many, they're just legion.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a trope.
Yeah.
Now there's like a lot of tropes. Okay,
commission model is a bit of a trope. Yeah, but side note.
Yeah, well, and also I'm expecting, $1 from the class action lawsuit, because I submitted a whole dollar somewhere. Yeah, because that's the thing. But
NAR lobbying wasn't good enough.
Yeah, when I got my license only to represent us, we actually dislike, actually that's a terrible thing to say, but I'm gonna say it anyway. We dislike agents so much that we refused to work with them unless we absolutely had to. And mainly we saw that play out because I don't know if it's so much a Florida thing, but when we were in Minneapolis, there was a lot of cases. So our mom started investing in real estate, like our parents. And when they would try to sell houses, so like remodel, sell houses, flip them essentially. If you list with like a flat fee service versus if you list with an agent, like your same house, same price, same everything. The agents like shy away from showing people the listing, and like I think that obviously you're not supposed to do that, but it's a thing. And so then we developed like a deep-seated loathing,
distrust for the agents.
Of agents. Then I got my license, and I was like, now I roll commissions in, because I'm like, well, you're gonna give me commission anyway, like buyer's commission, and I'm the buyer.
There's select markets, select styles of sales, select levels of niche, whether it be by location or type of home. Like you get into multifamily investing, land development, 8-plexes, apartment complexes, condominiums. Like there's nuance. But yeah, for the standard everyday sale, especially in a market where supply is hard to come by already, it's one thing when they're combing through millions of homes. But man, the commission model was built way before Zillow. Right? The job got a lot easier for most agents.
Yeah, this is true. And that skips us. I do want to talk to you about housing and how it all works and how people should be thinking about that right now. But let's I want to color in with the Fed, because the Federal Reserve Bank of America, which is obviously not the name. But I think that we should talk about the Fed, because that's something that it impacts so much of our economy. And most people don't understand, one, what it is, but two, how it works. And three, the idea that this is not really an institution. One, it didn't used to exist, right? Like we haven't always had a Fed. And the central bank thing, I actually, and again, I don't know how tinfoil hat we want to be. However, you notice that some of the countries that continually are
pushing back against the central bank
are the ones that end up getting bombed. They end up getting entirely fucked up by our government.
I could
But
smell a level 6 tinfoil badge when I saw you. I could sniff it out.
I know, but it's just, I try to color it and let people know that sometimes I go down conspiracy paths, but also the conspiracies that I'm looking at don't really look like conspiracies. I'm like, there's data here. I don't know that I'm crazy.
I will provide the tinfoil in this conversation. Don't worry.
So like I want to
tinfoil asterisk next to some things. So the Federal Reserve, what it is, what it does, and what it's doing now, or
and what it's doing now, but also like the history of it, because this whole Jekyll Island thing is very interesting. I think it just sounds nefarious.
Let's just run through the basic storyline, and then we'll go back through it with a different brush. So the Federal Reserve is founded in 1913 on December 23rd. At night during Christmas recess, it's passed at 43 to 26, which is a 17-person difference, while 27 lawmakers weren't present. So it started off a little odd there. And when it passed, about 7 months later, the Federal Reserve gets utilized to create bond financing for the Great War, World War I. And then from there on, first real job would be in the 20s, leading into the Great Depression, about 1928, 1929. There was a lot of back and forth between Wall Street and the Federal Reserve versus like speculators of the stock market, which ultimately caused the market to collapse very soon thereafter. And the Fed's pretty much stating of its independence, like, we're just going to keep rates up here. We don't like you speculators. Ultimately, that's what crashed the market. And ultimately, they could have also stepped in to save the many thousands of banks that would inevitably fall. It was kind of their job. So you could point a little bit at the Federal Reserve as one of the culprits of the Great Depression, whether by coincidence or coercion. Milton Friedman actually had that theory in his book, The Economic History of America, and he even heard from Ben Bernanke's mouth in 2001 at his own birthday party. Ben Bernanke saying, into the book you wrote stating the Federal Reserve allowed for the Great Depression, you're right, I'm sorry, but because of you, we won't do it again. What the hell does that mean?
I didn't know that part. This is a new fact to me.
It's crazy. And so you get, I believe, is it Herbert Hoover? No, Hooverville, that was the 30s. Who is the Grover Cleveland? Woodrow Wilson. I'm silly. Woodrow Wilson is lobbied by the same bankers to push for the Federal Reserve that inevitably would create the Federal Reserve, because when we go back and paint it with a different stroke from history, we actually have to go about 6 years before 1913 to really understand the full picture of how it's founded. And this is where you brought up Jekyll Island. So in 1907, there's a state bank panic. For decades upon decades, there have been droughts. There have been literal locusts eating entire fields certain years out. The agriculture economy has kept this state-tied banking system that we already had shaky. Big agricultural economy at the time. And then 1907, there's a stock that's speculated, I believe it was a copper stock that got cornered. And basically they tried to buy up enough that they could sell back shorts to the market. It fails. It falls apart. We have a big state bank panic. 1907. Now, J.P. Morgan steps together with a bunch of other bankers and bails out America. But 3 years later, at the resort that he co-owned in Georgia, Jekyll Island, you have 7 different bankers and government officials, one of which named Nelson Aldrich, a senator, who was seen, by the way, as the Nancy Pelosi of the time. Not that he was an insider trader, but well known in finance and had been there for a minute. So he's the goat of finance on Congress at this moment. He's at this meeting, unbeknownst to his constituents, I'm sure, with bankers from Germany who initially helped create the German central bank, the Reichsbank. And that was Warburg. You have Frank Vanderlip. You have Rockefeller representatives. You have J.P. Morgan representatives. You even have is it Low and Cohn, Rothschild representatives at this meeting. They meet there for 6 days. They meet there under their first names only, traveling in the back of a private car out of Jersey to arrive at this private resort where they concoct the Federal Reserve. And we know this because Nelson Aldrich would take that very document to Congress and claim it as its own, as the Aldrich Plan. Say, this is mine. I made this idea. I'm the grandfather of finance here on Congress, believe me. And even Congress was like, no, this is only benefiting Wall Street. Absolutely not. And so a year and a half later, a committee was launched because they were still deliberating on this Federal Reserve thing called the Pujo Committee. Pujo Committee was structured to find out whether or not this whole Fed Reserve thing and the people behind it, whether or not this whole thing is just a big money trust in operation. And what they'd inevitably find is there's 4 to 5 banks and 12 to 13 figures that represented over a quarter of the nation's wealth. That same group was the same group represented at the Federal Reserve meeting. They represented about a fifth to a quarter of the world's worth in one room. Nothing happens from the Pujo Committee. There's nothing that actually stops this from happening. They change up a few rules. They create this thing that says, okay, there's going to be some regional banks attached to the Federal Reserve. New York's not going to have all the power. DC is not going to have all the power, even though we see today that's kind of how it is. And the president gets to appoint the chairman, as we see Walsh now getting approved in modern day Federal Reserve from Jerome Powell. The wildest part about all of that is the fact that he lied about the meeting ever happening, never even said there was a meeting. He said it was his idea, inevitably gets it passed. And only 10 years later, Frank Vanderlip would admit, I believe the Time magazine in 1921, the meeting even happened, and then a few others would admit that it had happened, that they literally lied to their families and said they were going on a duck hunting trip. I mean, if the public knew that a fourth of the world's wealth was meeting in a private room to decide the financial future of the economy, there probably would have been a few more questions being asked because nobody wanted the central bank. It had been abolished already. They tried twice in our nation's history. It's not a new idea, but this one had the usury model built right into it. And so it gets passed. And so you have to ask, who's this Nelson Aldrich fellow, and why does it seem like he literally handed over our country's finances to a few wealthy men, which is exactly what Woodrow Wilson's quoted as saying, by the way. He said, looking back at it, and I'm paraphrasing here, looking back at it, unbeknownst to me, I handed over the nation to a few wealthy men. Speaking to the Federal Reserve. Nelson Aldrich in 1901, his daughter married in to the Rockefeller family. And Nelson Aldrich, check this out. In 1908, I think it was Abby, don't quote me on it. And this Rockefeller have a kid and literally name him Nelson Aldrich Rockefeller. You could Google that. Nelson Aldrich Rockefeller. Then I'm like, oh, okay. Now I'm seeing a little bit of what's going on here. This is why we're handing it over to elites, because you're married into the family, which is exactly what modern day Kevin Warsh is, by the way. He's the son-in-law of Ron Lauder of the Estee Lauder Corporation, littered in the Epstein files. So it's like the same game playing out in live. And that's where history's cool, but it's also like, shit, why are we still doing this?
Red flags should be going up every time we hear about a private island.
Oh my God. Yes.
Yeah. And I think that seems to me like I don't know, I'm not a history buff, I would say, but that seems to me like we started down that path and now we are 100 years down that path. 100
right. And I speak quick on a lot of things that need to be fact checked. I've looked into every single thing I'm talking about, 5 different directions, and AI fact. I wish I could walk around with an AI fact checker that's just putting up pins, like when you watch those debates and it's like puts up the fact check. Right? I need to get that built in because I don't want to sound nuts.
No, you do a really good job actually, even in your short form stuff of like putting screenshots and this where the reports and the documents and everything. And I know you guys have a massive map somewhere. Well, no, I know, but I think you do a really good job of it. That will not happen. Like people, it's their own job to go check this from our podcast because we are and no resources.
It's right around the corner. Give it a year. There'll be an AI fact checker ad on the OBS Riverside.
Just depends on who owns it.
Right.
None of us. At this point, it doesn't even. We'll get there in this conversation. So that's the history. That's extremely helpful. take us down like how the Fed influences our current monetary policy, if you would, and how it impacts housing, because housing is like the next biggest part of this conversation. And I think something that everybody is like feeling now, like there's weird stuff over the last decade, right? What's happened with COVID, and then we live in Florida, and so people, there was a huge influx. Housing prices went way up. We did really well in some of our investments for that reason, because you had a very big population flux from other countries, or not other countries, other states where people, had high salaries, and then they came here during COVID. So a lot of weird stuff in the housing market, but a lot of this is like very relevant to what people should be thinking about as far as investments. So long question to ask you: how does the Fed impact housing monetary policy?
So I want to start with a stat and 3 dates. So the fun fact is around housing affordability. So sit back and prepare to feel really good by the end of this stat, especially for those that don't own a home. So 1972, 2026, and then 2008. So I actually have written down in front of me from earlier notes, the median home price in 1972 was $27,500. For comparison, the median home price in America today is $403,000. The interest rates were about the same. In fact, in 72, they were a little higher, as all boomers will remind you of. It was 7.5%, as to today, we're about 6.2%. Their mortgage would have been $170 without mortgage insurance, without home insurance, without taxes. And today's mortgage payment on that same median home would be $2,230. Now, I broke this down for a reason, because I want us to get our brains wrapped, not just around, okay, you're not adjusting for inflation. Like, okay, boomer, hold up. So back then you needed to make $7,300 a year to afford a home. Median income was about $10,000. Fair. One income, not even household, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay, one job, we got it taken care of. Today, the median income required to buy the home is $111,000, and the median income of an American is $47,000. Boomers get quiet after that stat. You had to make $351 an hour to afford a home then. Now it's $53.37. So what's going on? Why is there such a dramatic shift in the income to getting a roof over your head ratio? It sucks, because we've created a worldwide phenomenon of a commodity around American dirt. And basic shelter has been turned into this paradox of also being an incredible income generator, an incredible tax saver, an incredible wealth holder, right?
Yeah.
And before I go deeper, I'm not bashing real estate investing, but we have to look our own sins in the mirror every now and then to understand what's going on. The mom and pop investor equates to 21% of home purchases across America in 2025. Yeah. It's 1 of every 5. It's an insane number.
Yeah.
The total number is 33% when you account for all investors. So that is weaning supply, especially of affordable housing. But let me go to another date before we go any deeper. 2008. So 2008, to me, if you were to ask, when did it all change? That's when it all changed, right there, for so many things. You could look at Citizens United a few years later. You could look at the birth of private equity and institutional investing right at the same time. You could also look at what the Federal Reserve did with BlackRock. So BlackRock and their CEO, Larry Fink, got called in October of 2008 at the height of the crisis, right after the second bank had just failed. Bear Stearns and Lehman Brothers would fail that year. Right after Lehman Brothers fails, Larry Fink and BlackRock are called into the Federal Reserve to eat up $130 billion in toxic mortgage assets through 3 maiden lane LLCs. That's what you can Google to find all that. And also created this new thing called quantitative easing, which has destroyed the asset class section of this economy. It has allowed for so much excess liquidity, which is just more money, excess liquidity. Think of like plumbing. It's the water in which the financial plumbing system operates. And when it's running too hot, when the pressure's too high, it all just travels too quick and it all moves upward, unlike real water, which will focus down with gravity. The gravity of money is to go upward. Mm-hmm. And we're losing it at a faster pace the further we go into print. The bigger the print, the faster it's going, which is why in 2020, when we had a record print of over $5 trillion, you felt like money was getting ripped out from under you, because it is. Because it flows up to assets immediately and it gets to wages last. And we're seeing that elastic rip back effect of the modern everyday person trying to get by, the median household, median income trying to get by. Like, dog, am I crazy for remembering when I was 22, I didn't have to have a side hustle. I didn't even have to have a spouse, that I could afford to just do whatever on the weekends? That I could, like, I'm 20, I could drink a 6-pack of beer, invite my boy over to play Madden, and I didn't have to think about the future of my financial independence too heavy? Like, you do that every weekend for 10 years. Okay, gotcha. Understood. But I can't go out with my wife to the park each Saturday morning because I got to worry about the grind. It seems like a different world. It's like back then I was grinding to thrive. It's like I was running towards something. I was waking up every morning and going after a goal. I'd written it down. I was manifesting it. It was written on the mirror. I was going for it. And I was doing it. And that's exciting. And I was running for something. Today, it feels like Freddie is loose in Central Park chasing people. And the person who's just born into this economy isn't running for the same reasons. They're running to escape dying. They're running for their life. They're not running because they're chasing something. And now they're all drained. And now they're all emotionally just empty. And algorithms are sucking every last bit of dopamine out of brains that they have left. God forbid they believe in this economy for the next 30, 50 years. Oh, I'm going to go just get a job, retire in 40 years. Oh, I'm just going to go and invest and hope the stock market's in the same shape it is now in 30 years.
Yeah.
Is a lot less guaranteed than that thought felt, in 2007 or 2011 or any of those years. Even during the great financial crisis, we all knew we were going to come out of it. It's like now everything seems really shaky. And so I get it. So like for the young person out there, it's difficult to look at this housing market and think anything other than, please make that motherfucker crash. Sorry for cussing. Like, please.
No. We are fully
right now. But the other side of it is I don't see that in the cards either. So housing market stable and it's overinflation, and the Federal Reserve's money printing and low rates through 2012's recovery of 08 all the way to and through 2022 created this Great Depression-like pattern, which you can look back on. It's hard to find the records of. But you can look at the low rates during the Great War leading into about the mid-20s, really low rates to finance everything. And that led to the roaring 20s. But the after effect of them readjusting back to historically normal rates caused this crunch. And we're living in that crunch.
Yeah, and I just anecdotally too, I worry quite a bit about the young people of this country, and I interface with some of them. Like we bring on interns and things for my company, and these kids that are like in college, they're freshmen or they're sophomores, and they are just genuinely like, I feel like they've just written it off, the idea of doing something meaningful with their lives in a way that I just like. They're almost to the point where they I don't want to say they don't care, but there's something about them that's like very nonchalant, because I think they have to be. I think that if you're young and you care too much, you just like end up in a pit of despair. So a lot of them I talk to, that they're 100%. Like, they don't know what to do.
I would argue that the greater majority of the Gen Z generation is the most inclined to actually do something impactful with their lives. But unfortunately, they were born on a monopoly board where all of the board members already have hotels on them, and they get the same $200 the last player got. Like they understand the deck is stacked against them. And I imagine they're the exact type of people that would want to actually give back to saving the earth and getting hate out of politics and getting people in Congress that actually care about their constituents. That's that generation. And they're getting shoved down the drain, and it's atrocious to watch, because I got a couple team members on my team same way, where it's like, you got the same level of heart or more. It's just you're in a deck stacked against you scenario.
Yeah. And I also think the other thing that colors this a little bit, and something that I keep a really close watch on, is this wealth transfer part of things, where you have like the boomers, right? They've got the majority of the money. Well, as it relates to the minority having the majority, it's the boomers, right? And they're passing it down to folks. Like it just as they die and as they retire, it's passing to their next of kin, which a lot of cases is their like 40s, 50s children. Yeah, and then you still like literally same spot, like it's transferring one level, one generation down, but that generation is going to live an extra 20 years on top of, well, one would think, right, with medical advancements, an extra 20 years on top of what the boomers are going to live. And so I just like it, the nature of wealth, right, the nature of money is to consolidate. And I actually like what you said about like how it, the gravity on money goes the opposite direction. It's going to go up and up and up, like it's rather than down. And I say that not because I don't have an answer or a conclusion here. I just think it's an important point to look at, that the next generations of this country are like, you got a teenage son.
Trickle down economics.
Well, two things that you said. Thank you for cutting with a sharp steak knife through the silver tsunami theory of when the boomers die, all the assets will come back to the public market and everything will be hunky-dory again. That's not how that's going to work. Because every Tom, Sally, and Bob that pass have a granddaughter, grandson, great-grandson that can't afford a house right now.
Yeah.
They're not just going to sell it. It's going to go to whoever needs it within the family. And the funny thing about, you say the next generation, because that's where my brain goes to so often, is like, man, how are our leaders not the people who are planting trees in which they're never going to sit under the shade of? How are we getting these leaders that are just so now focused? So what's going to be the headline about me? What can I tweet about? What's the money to be made here? All the time. It kind of makes me wonder, like, why are all these other generations, why do they seem to last so much longer? Like, we're such a young country as it is, and we're a very young superpower that's just post World War II, where we're still within generations of people who were alive when we weren't. And it's interesting to me that we don't have any politicians that are working in the direction of what's going to be important in the next generation. And it seems like a lot of it's centered around this political system of 4 to 8 years. No one cares. They just want their 4 to 8 years to look good. And that's why we resort to printing money. And that's why we resort to war to finance our oil-backed dollars. And that's why we resort to all of this stupidness, it seems, because we have people that are just focused on their now, which I guess for assets of the future, it's going to be good because that means more money gets printed, assets inflate. But, you know, that is really the difference in the economy and will continue to be the most stark difference as we move forward, is he who owns an asset versus he who does not.
Yes. Well, the other thing is I wanted to ask, well, I didn't want to ask you until you started talking, but now I want to ask you, my number one favorite politician is Thomas Massie, and there's a whole thing happening. I think their election, I don't know if it's
I'm going to be in Kentucky in 2 days.
Are you?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh, that's crazy.
Me and Tiffany were in the room when he received his poll numbers. We were interviewing him, and he got really open and honest with us.
Yeah, no, I think that's it feels like a big milestone. It feels like a really important thing. And for just, I guess, context of people who are not watching, Thomas Massie is I don't say the single greatest politician, but like he's one of the best politicians that we have in government. Somebody that I genuinely feel is actually working for the people. Like, I don't know where he came from or why this is turned out to be, he's a person of principle, but he really seems like that to me. And he's on the teetering edge of not being reelected because he's got an opponent who's being funded by
Super PAC.
Supposedly. I don't know. I don't know if you can actually trace back.
It's
okay.
There's about 3.2 million that's come directly from APAC. Let me get the numbers right up in front of me so I can be as accurate as possible.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to be in Kentucky, so I'm actually going to be creating content around this subject matter here very shortly. In fact, it's on my schedule for after this. So the current reason this is such a big deal is because the man who created the Epstein Transparency Act fought against the Farm Bill to make sure that glyphosate had to be introduced as a possible cancer-causing material and couldn't be state protected. The same person who doesn't want a single dollar going out to Israel or even any other foreign country for that matter until we get our domestic issues solved and many other things, is being slandered 100%. As of right now, this U.S. House primary in Kentucky, famously red, by the way, so whoever wins this primary coming up in a week will win the midterm. I know everyone's yelling midterm. Kentucky's won or lost right here in a week. It is a already record, before we've even reached election day, the most expensive U.S. House primary in history with $25.6 million in ad buys alone in the 4th District of Kentucky. The Republican Jewish Coalition has spent $4 million on ads supporting Galreen and pushing back on the Fire Massie campaign against Thomas Massie. AIPAC Super PAC United Democracy Project has also given $2.6 million per Addy Impact, which tracks ad spend. MAGA Kentucky, another super PAC, funds billionaires and was personally funded for this venture by Paul Singer and casino magnate Miriam Adelson to the tune of $4 million specifically for attack ads against Massie. There's currently over $10.7 million, there's currently $14.3 million being utilized in ad spend alone against Thomas Massie. And the sick part about it is the majority of Kentucky and this district actually supports Thomas Massie. The crazy part is where the anti-Massie is coming from is specifically the over 45 age group. So all they are doing is running AI slop Fire Massie ads on every commercial around channels they watch to let them know to go vote. And guess what? There's not even enough ad spend that Massie has to go and run a similar ad campaign to the young people saying, hey, by the way, there's a vote next week. They don't even know there's a vote next week. And of the under 40-year-old Republicans in that area, 80% side with Massie. So it's this coy game they're playing of just flooding the system for one demographic, leave the other one completely alone, and just let the boomers ride the wave for you because young people don't vote. And that's why we're going to Kentucky, to get young people out to vote. Hey, this is where we're going to be. We're going to be creating content, live streaming, doing podcasts all together, and posting in Kentucky to take advantage of the geolocation of the algorithms so that we can be seen by the young people.
That's really cool. So I think that's fantastic. And like, you could look at that funding stack and just read the names and know why the fuck you should vote for him. Like, what in the world is it just...
And in Trump's words directly, when referencing Ed, the person running against Thomas Massie, referenced, I just want a warm body in there when Massie leaves.
Yeah, which is basically, they got to get him out. They have to get, they don't have a choice but to get Thomas Massie out. It's like Thomas Massie, Rokon to a certain extent, and they align on the issues that are actually important. It's like, it's not even a red-blue thing. It's just like they actually are for the people, is what I would say, what the government is supposed to be.
Rose strikes me more from... God, never mind.
No.
No.
Say it.
I have to be,
Okay.
like I said, I'm not used to this. I've met him in person now at this point. I'm connected with his people. So like,
Okay.
Fair enough.
All right. Well, I like him on one particular issue. And
Yes, I'm not, and that's where I'm not.
that's-
Yeah, where he lines up politically is not the issue.
Yeah. Otherwise, people from California, you know, I think California is kind of a failed state, but that's just yeah. So anyway, not to take us on a tangent, but I think that this all plays into it, right? And this is all the very important conversation of our age. And I also genuinely don't know how the boomers, like, maybe it's nice to live in La La Land. Like, maybe that's the thing, that they would prefer to stay on Fox. And they don't, it's very uncomfortable to have new information, true information that makes you rethink your whole life and what you've been given, what you feel like you fucking work for. Right. Maybe that's why, but I don't get it.
Well, I just think they don't give a fuck. They don't care. They don't have to care. I mean, to talk about a generation that was absolutely raised in a different America, arguably an incredible America, at least a semi-fair America growing up, and then to watch the CIA, the church release, and seeing all this craziness that your government was lying to you, the CIA was lying to you, to watch JFK get assassinated, to watch, you know, everything that went on with the civil rights movement and MLK being taken down. Like, you watched all these crazy events unfold. And of course, some just fell in line with whatever the government was telling them. But there's plenty of old people. And this is the crazy part to me. There are plenty of old people MAGA is filled with them that will say, Zach, what are you yelling about? These guys have been lying to us since the 50s. What a bitch! That's an awful take. You're just cool with getting lied to all the time? You're just cool with just being lied to at all times from the same people? And then you're going to be the same person that's loud enough to wear a red damn hat and be out here and be like, no, but he's fighting it. He's in it.
He's not a politician. That's what you guys don't understand.
He's
a businessman.
Yeah, he's here for the farmers. Then why are all the farmers committing suicide or selling their farms? That doesn't seem like grand support.
Yeah, why is 25% of the soybeans now that were historically being bought from the U.S. now being bought from Brazil and Argentina, wherever the hell else now?
Yeah, because China said, I'm going to get a new partner. Is silly, man. Is silly. And that's the thing about it. It's just like, man, I look at Howard Lutnick and I look at these people that are around him, like the Jared Kushners and the Peter Thiel funded JD Vances and everyone on the peripheral. It's like, why are we soaked in just absolute shit? And everyone's like, don't worry, vote your way out of it. It's like, I want to throw you through a wall with the love of Jesus. What are you talking about? This stuff is internal in our systems, and it goes all the way back to like even before the Fed.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. And the voting thing is a good conversation to have here, because where do you think that voting makes the most impact? And it's a little bit of a loaded question, right? Because you're, I
got a lot of flack a couple weeks ago.
We talked about, we were like, voting doesn't fucking matter. What's the point? What are you voting for? Like, run up your money.
We believe at a very local level is where it matters most. But we believe once it gets to the presidents and at a federal level, it's kind of just already, the cards are already laid, and this is kind of a big show.
Yeah, but then like people like you, right? You're going out to try to support Thomas Massie, get younger people to come out to vote. On what level do you think voting makes an impact? If there is a level, right? Like if there's a level to focus on, what would it be?
I think it's a great question. There's so many different ways we could go with this. It's different to look at like there's like three sections. Like you said, local government. You're talking mayors, clerks, local Congress. Like 3 of my local congressmen went to Israel 3 months ago, and I was like, what? Are you running Milford, Delaware? What's going on? So maybe there's some weirdness there, but obviously. Local officials, absolutely. Then you have in the middle, you have like congressional. That's very important. You have, I think, 535 in total. Very, very open source to get into. Expensive to get into, but doable. And then you have the executive side, the big votes. I think each layer gets a little less detached from reality, where local government has a lot to do, but they're only playing with the water that's fed to them from the bigger water system of America, as far as what they can do economically, what can they do legislatively, and they follow the same drowsy long-form paths to getting anything really done or changed, same omnibus patterns, same voting patterns, same bipartisan alignment patterns. Like, it's all kind of the same, but in terms of it keeps things changing, but not really shifting too dramatically. Because again, they can only play with what they got. Delaware could thrive in a lot of different ways if the government threw us an extra $5 billion, but they threw that to California and New York. So it's really dependent. At the Congress level, well, let me skip to the executive side. Executive side, it's done. You can't convince me that at the very least the last 16 years worth of presidency is completely purposefully built. You have a guy that in Obama untethered the economy in so many different ways, Citizens United being the biggest one that I would love to bring up to him in person, be like, what the hell? And so many others, all while being really the only guy that looked Bibi in the eye directly with anger. I'll hand him that. But from there on, man, Trump had a really easy time with Hillary Clinton. And it made me think, wow, first of all, this is another Clinton running for president. My mom told me I could be president one day. I think a lot of kids heard that one day. Why is there a second Clinton running? Like, this is not, we already had 2 Bushes. We got another one that ran in the family. That's weird. Okay. And she obviously loses because we're a white male, typically racist and misogynistic at our core, especially in the older generations. Sorry if you're listening. I'm not shouting you out. I'm just saying a woman thing is like the two main things he's had to take on.
Yeah.
And
that's an interesting,
I don't know if that's kind of purposeful. Like, listen to me. Also, the other one didn't even have to run a primary. And to all my Harris fans out there, I didn't want Trump in office either. There's a reason I didn't vote for either of them. She had BlackRock execs on her team. Her housing plan didn't make any logistical sense, and there was no detail added to this plan for credits and home building. Yeah, and she couldn't talk. She couldn't talk.
She couldn't talk. And I also don't appreciate trying to be fucking rolled over by the like, I'm not a Democrat, but like, I'm just like, y'all fuckers really tried to, he's not decrepit. He's got his full mental faculty.
Yeah, you got Biden rolling in on a wheelchair, and then you got her. It's like, man, he's had some real soft opponents. He's had some real softies. And then you get Biden while he was in there, of course, like he's just like Delaware represent. Thank you, Biden. Thanks, brother. See you in Rehoboth. Like, and of course, like the country, there's a lot of issues that happen, and then Trump gets to come right back in and fix them. It's like, did some elite puppeteer kick the dog in the road and then send Trump in to go save the dog in the road? No, now everyone's like clapping, like, yeah, he saved the dog. Like, where'd the dog come from? Why are there so many problems to fix?
That's hilarious because it makes you wonder, right? It literally makes you wonder, like, is the whole thing, which is, premise of the question, does it matter to place your vote anywhere?
So here's my thing. I'll be completely forthcoming. I don't believe in it. This is the third presidential election. I voted for Steph Curry. He hasn't won yet. I completely bowed out when Trump entered the picture. It seemed crazy to me. And so did the opponent. I was like, these are my options. I legitimately how old am I at that point? 24, 23. I'm a child. Like, what? These are the options? Yeah. This is crazy. And then I'm past deployment and going, I've just never saw somebody else like, I want that man or woman to run the country. It hadn't happened. I probably would have voted for Obama had I been old enough. But since then, when's there been a presidential figure that's been optional at this point? So that side, no. On the congressional side, I think it's different. I don't think you have to be a bought out shill of a person who's placed, blah, blah, blah. Just like the people within the cabinet. I could go on for days about people within the current cabinet and the proposed cabinet of Harris. We can play both ways. I play both sides of the field. I can make you equally angry and happy. It's a fun job. I lost my train of thought with my funny little dig. You ever do that? You're like, let me say this too. And then you come back and like, where did my thought process go?
Yeah, around congressional voting.
Yeah, the congressional voting, 100%. It's easy to do one of two things. Get someone to abide by what you want via buying them out through contributions or lobbying, and or fund their opponent. And that's pretty much been the pattern. You don't have to have somebody who is going to like know something about something that could like jeopardize the country's security. You just got to pay them. You just got to pay them. Like, it's like saying the NFL isn't rigged. Like, okay, sure. But how easy is it to pay a ref? You don't have to rig the entire field of players. You just got to rig one or two people that are in control of the vibes of the game. And I'm not saying the NFL is rigged. All I'm saying is to the people like, you couldn't get all those players to admit that. They don't have to all know. In fact, none of them probably know. If that were the case, I'm a big sports fan. I really hope it's not rigged. But yeah, I know too much at this point about the types of people who have led our country really since the 80s to think that any of the options ever would have been any different. Besides asterisk, I would have voted the shit out of Bernie Sanders.
Same. I don't necessarily agree with all the policies, but I'm a character.
Neither do I. But at the very least, I'm like, that guy can lead. He's okay with being wrong as well, and he listens to other people. That's cool.
And I genuinely feel like he tries to tell the truth. At least makes an attempt, half-hearted attempt to tell us some stuff. And okay. Well, got to the bottom of that one, folks.
Yeah, I hope everybody's family investments are feeling fantastic at this point as I look down at my notes.
Yeah, it's just I'm trying to talk about the important stuff, and sometimes like it's yeah, this is it, right? Like, and so then that leads me to the last question, because I want to be cognizant of time here. And what does one do with this information, right? We've gone through like a lot of stuff in our version of the world, what we see in the world. Our answer to it is try to invest with people that you trust and try to build something with people that it doesn't have to be your family, right? You can choose your family. You could choose the people that you want to build with. Family's a natural extension, so that's the direction that we go because we're very close, and like us as a sibling trio, I suppose. But what recommendations do you have for people? I know you had like actually a very sort of tangible breakdown, and it said like BIBO, be something, BR. So, but anyway, metals, and then it was a great video.
You're reminding me of an acronym that I don't.
Oh, okay. You got to go back to it because it was fantastic. Whatever it was like, BRBIBO. I don't know why it was that, but then at the end of the video, you came back to it and you
Maybe
were like,
you took it as an anagram and I never conceptualized it.
No. At the end of it, you were like, your brain, your body,
your body, and your spirit, whole wealth.
Yes. But and so like anyway, outside of that, I really like that video. So
now I need to go back. There's an anagram I'm missing from my own brain. What's going on?
No, it was good. It was actually really genuinely really good.
I remember it.
Yeah. So like my question is, what recommendations would you have for folks? And obviously you're in real estate too, and the real estate's a decent part of what's happening here. So yeah.
I'll give 3. And my I looked down as you said that. And I was like, is this an anagram? It kind of is. PAD, P-A-D. So stealing from that very video, all 3 of these, by the way. First is for P, print money. I think the first thing that any person can do to get control of any situation is to understand the situation that they're in. The best way to grow a number is to track it. Best way to lose weight, start tracking your calories and how many hours you're putting in the gym. You want to start growing your finances, start tracking how much is going in and how much is going out. And that's what print money is. Print out your bank statement, take a green, yellow, red highlighter. Green is the money coming in, yellow are the things that you absolutely need to get by, and red are the optionals. And you simply need to do the math. Green minus yellow, how much is left over? What's left over minus red? Is there anything left over? Okay, how much? And then can I cut back on the red to take on more? And that money that you get that's after those equations is your ammo toward one of 2 things: debt payment or investment, in that order. And in that video, I do give a breakdown of specifically paying down the higher percent mortgages or loans first, those big high interest credit cards that can just simply rotate debt to attack those first with all of your might instead of spreading it throughout. Working your way down to the point where you have only but sub 5% loans on your ledger, things like your home or your car, maybe, if you're lucky. And
yeah, because I just took a 6% something.
I know. It might already be outdated advice from even months ago. That you take that money you are surplusing after the debt is alleviated to invest into things like stocks, bonds, into your IRA, 401k, gold, silver, index funds. And I follow a 20-60-20 model with once I've done the print money model for where my money goes in terms of investment. 20% is in fun stuff, 20% boring stuff, 60% in wealth holders. So the 20% of fun stuff, that can be the crypto that you think is going to go crazy. That can be the extra money you want to throw on some weird metal or a company that you believe in, something like that. The bottom 20%, this is when you're buying mirrors of like bonds and index funds of the markets, and QQQ and SPY and Voodoo, boring stuff. The 60%, the wealth holders, for me specifically, I'll be honest, and I probably should be more diversified, is like 90% of that is silver and gold. I own a lot of silver and gold. I started buying about a year and a half ago, and I started yelling at everyone else to do the same. Still would, by the way. And the holding of the assets is the most important part, right? Because we are in an ever-inflating, debt-based economy that is foundationalized on usury and the fractional reserve lending system. It's all code word for the dollar's going to get weaker. Be prepared. You got to hold an asset or you're going to die. That's the difference in the K-shape. So start with printing money. The A, asset ownership. It's got its own section. Asset ownership. It's the most important. You can live in something that gains value. You can give shelter to somebody else in the form of real estate investing to something that's going to grow in value. The dirt underneath it's going to grow in value. So long as our government keeps growing, so long as we keep trying to take over the world, the dollar probably is going to inflate because we're probably going to print to fund that effort, as the Fed did as its first objective, funding the Great War. Every war is a banker's war. Bankers will benefit, and that means that they'll have more control over the system that we operate in, which means more than likely they would lobby for and push for money printing. To prepare for that, own an asset. And the last one, completely different advice, or a whole different area on the Venn diagram, is a D. Detach. Get off the damn phone. Like, get off of socials, turn off the TV if you still even own one of those. Stop doing everything that you always do to distract yourself, myself included, because we all do this. We're always trying to find something to distract ourselves from being in silence within our own brain. Like, this is the most complex operating system any humans ever come in contact with. We're never going to see it. It sits between your ears, and it's 9 pounds of meat, water, and electricity. And it's infinitely changeable via neuroplasticity. It runs like a GPS out of your mitochondria or a reticular activating system, one of those two. It's an incredible piece of machinery that I only know about 0.1% about, that I do want to spend some time with, because the more I do, the more I realize, wow, everything in this world is some form of merchandising to get my time. They want my time. They got all the assets. Now they want your time. They want to drain your emotions. They want your spirit, literally. Every single, like, turn on, can I get real, like, tinfoil? This is where the tinfoil Hattie really comes out.
Do it.
Find me a movie or a top 40 song that ain't about drugs, that ain't about girls, that ain't about drinking or partying. Find me one that isn't just trying to arouse some emotional response or distraction from your shitty life. Find me one news program that isn't using the good news section to just show some guy reuniting with his dog. Like, when are you going to actually go out and do something? You're going to spit 28 minutes of shit and be like, and this soldier came home to his family. Look, how adorable. And expect that to be the palate cleanser for us watching Doomsday literally unfold most times. Like, you got to get away. Yes, it's rigged. I got it. Learn the rules of the game, play the game like it's a job, and then, like a job, detach. Get out. Go for a walk. Stare at a wall. Be bored. Boredom is the key. The screens mobilized us to be available at all waking hours. You know more about the world before you step up out of bed than people did just 20 years ago. It's not what our brains are meant for. And we're like 6 hours of screen time is normal, not even including TVs and computers. That's normal. It's normal to be in a room with another human. In fact, I'll tell the story. I'm in the room with Ro Khanna, and a man can't get off his damn phone. He's just scrolling and liking and replying. And I'm like, dog, we're humans. We're sitting in the same room.
Yeah.
Shout out. It's poisoned us in a way that I think even we don't understand how badly we've been poisoned, as much as we would look at others saying, yeah, this has poisoned a generation. Brother, look in the mirror a bit. Because we cannot help the people to our left and to our right in any way, shape, or form until we have fixed oneself. And so to detach and focus on your brain, to focus on your body in the gym, your spirit in a book or prayer or meditation, breathing exercises, Wim Hof and cold plunging, running, having that awkward conversation with that person at the store because you're socially awkward. Like, I play games with it now. I'm trying to find uncomfort so I can be more comfortable in normal day. Like, you want to know a fun one? I just told my producer about this. He hated it. He's Gen Z. He said, what's the worst one you've been doing? And I said, when I get on the plane, when I'm traveling, I try to make eye contact with as many people as I'm walking back to I'll get the back seat in the plane knowing I'm going to play this game. I'm going to make as much eye contact, and I can't break eye contact until they break eye contact. So I'm just sitting and going, bop. Bop, bop, just making it as awkward as hell as I can be. Like, it's harmless though, and it's it's like there's a story of this guy that tried to get denied 100 times in a bunch of different crazy ways. He like went to like Dunkin' Donuts and can you serve me the donuts as like the Olympic rings? And he was surprised at how many times people just said yeah. And I think we underestimate how awesome life can be when we live in our own bubbles, and we underestimate the beauty of what we're living on in this marble floating in space while everyone argues about money and lines on land. It's like there's more to this. There is a life after this one way or another. You can believe it's blackness, you can believe it's something else, but there's ultimately some type of creation. And I honestly believe you have to believe in, there's a lot more to believe in when you think there isn't a creator than the opposite, in my opinion. I think a lot of us are looking for God, but the author of Harry Potter didn't put herself into the book. So I think we're looking for God in a lot of different ways. We're the book. I think there's depth in detaching and surrendering to how cool this life can be, and having equal parts understanding in what's going on within it, and why there's evidence for literal spiritual warfare going on as we speak in the form of.
I think that is a really optimistic take. And I think that I think you should say that more. I think you should say that in like every video. And that is like everything here can be taken like one of two directions, right? It's either very extremely depressing and people go into a place of like inaction because they're too sad and depressed to do anything about it. Or like the other side of that is that like you can take agency over your life and your brain and literally what you put in it. And I think that you are right that most people don't.
Have you heard Plato's allegory of the caves?
Mm-mm.
It's a really interesting one, because I read it a couple years back and I was like, what does this mean? And then I read it in a book and I was like, oh, that's what that means. And then Professor Zhang used it as an analogy. I was like, okay, this is really soaking in. So there's this allegory of the caves where basically there's a bunch of people who are laid in a cave facing the back of the cave, and the only light in the cave is the fire that's lit behind them. They're tied down, but only to a sense of they could literally take their hands out if they'd like to, their legs out if they'd like to. But they've been there their whole life. And the only thing that they can see is on the ceiling, there's shadows that are moving around from the fire. The shadows created by the people in or around the fire. And in this allegory, it gets to the point where this one guy just gets up, looks around, sees the people creating the shadows, thought that they'd be like, get down. And they're like, they're not. You can leave. Go ahead. And they continue on, and you go outside and you realize, oh my God, look at this world. This is incredible. I thought that was the world. This was all I had known. These shadows. When in actuality, this is incredible. And he goes back in to tell the people, and the people are like, shut up. I'm watching my shadows. Shut up. Get out of here. I'm watching my stories. Stop. And he's perplexed. He's like, what the hell is going on? And then the people start getting mad because he's telling other people to get out. And they just say, just go out there and be there. And that's kind of where I feel like I'm at sometimes. I feel like I'm sitting outside the cave. Every now and then I try to sneak in and be like, hey guys, there's cool stuff outside. And then I get yelled at by an algorithm or terminated by TikTok. Sometimes I'll just go back to my garden with my chickens and my daughter and my wife. And I'll sit outside the cave.
Okay. But fair enough. It totally makes sense. Because I don't think that what you just said there, the reason that I think it's optimistic and really something that we should say more is that the algorithm, right, like the technological overlords that we all have now, don't want us to say that. Like that is something that actively they don't want us to talk about, right? Like the idea that you could sit without your phone for actually many, many days. You could go outside, you could travel without it, you could literally leave it.
Trail without it. I'm so pumped to do it again this June. I'm so pumped. That was my best 4 days like ever in my brain. And it made me so much more locked in when I got home too.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna do a whole month of lockout for my phone. I'm super pumped.
That's so weird to fucking say. Like, that's a great practice. It's a great practice to not have your phone. But it used to just not that many years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. It used to just normal life. This is a blink. When you get into human history, this is a blink. Mm-hmm. And we have all this technology available to us and all the world's information at our fingertips. It's a blink in the timeline of life. Nobody had this. This is crazy. You couldn't explain anything that we're doing currently at this podcast to a Victorian child. What are you talking about? Microphones. What is that? Like, you'd be there for days.
Yeah. Cool. Well, to close this up, I want to give you a sec to point people to where you want them to go. No, it's just I just didn't know how to do it. So, to close it out, folks.
I didn't set you up well. My apologies. That was my
No,
fault.
that's okay. It's a good ending for you. Support I'll clip and share.
Instagram, where I hope you two lovely people also send me some good clips that I can collaborate with you on there.
Yeah.
And at Zachary Loft. And then YouTube, we have a show called The Zach Foust Show, and I'm starting a show with my wife called Blood Money around white collar true crime.
Ooh.
Yeah, my wife used to be a true crime podcaster until her host bailed on her, and I do the white collar stuff. And one day I'm zooming around on YouTube. I was like, hey, is anyone doing white collar true crime? It's just like one of the most popular subject matters there is, true crime. Is anyone doing white collar true crime? Is only the trailer park people that are like cheating on each other crime?
Bernie Madoff with the thing that they did on Netflix, that like miniseries about.
Yeah, it usually makes its way to Netflix, but like the podcasting world is pretty absent. So I was like, maybe they just all suck and no one wants it, but we'll find out.
No, that's exciting.
College paying to get it off of there.
Exactly. They're like, we don't want these. Yeah, like 40. If you find me on YouTube, you will have to search me by name. My videos don't pop up in the search algorithm. About 51 of our 67 videos are all flagged by you.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's all good.
Hey, that's how you know you're fighting the good fight.
Well, that's how you know you actually have people that care about what you have to say, because you still have a decent, like, you have a followership, you have a viewership that, like, if people have to go find you and they're still watching, that's a really good signal.
Listen, I already got the If They Kill Me file on my computer, so.
Good. And on Instagram, though, you are Zachary Loft, not Zachary Foust.
You can find it either way, usually. I pay enough for the check mark to help.
$15 a month, yeah. All right, cool. Any closing thoughts that you want to leave people with? You, Andre? Sorry, I know I've been yapping the fuck away here, so sorry.
No. I think you guys got it.
Okay.
Andre, you got that podcasting voice, man. You got to speak through more.
Agreed. No, I know. Sorry, and I tried to like.
He's got the voice and face for radio locked in. He could do TV or
the radio. Face for radio. What's that supposed to mean?
Face for TV, voice for radio. My apologies.
It's okay. You said what you meant. Don't worry.
No, that's not what I meant at all. She set me up. No, I was saying, like, you got that voice, man. You got to use that more, 100%.
Oh, appreciate it, man. Thank you.
That's funny. We're gonna get people. You would like the type of voice that people are gonna pay. Like, I'll pay you $100 and read me this erotic story, like the old ladies on Instagram. That's like the type of voice you have.
If you want that, drop something in the comments and link in bio. I'm gonna start my OnlyFans.
Yeah. Patreon. Oh man, cool. You guys are hilarious. Thank you for having me on. Thanks for creating the space. Anybody listening to this is going to be better ahead of themselves a little bit financially, and I'm sure there are other episodes that are a bit more family investing focused.
No, it's okay. This is great. Like, it's part. Literally, I think our first episode, I was like, this is like 50% conspiracy theories and 50% money. Like, this is a solid split for us.
Okay.
Yeah, cool. All right. Well, have a good day. Thank you very much. And thanks to your producers. And sorry about the
audio issues.
No, it's all good. It's the fact that my producer's not here. That was my issue. It was my board. That's my fault.
All right.
Shout you guys out. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. See you later.
Man. Appreciate it.